Hindustan Aeronautics Limited and General Electric Aerospace had signed a MOU amid PM Modi's official visit to USA. As per the agreement, India would get 11 technologies, and out of this, the most important is the deal of the production of F414 engine, which is to be used for upgrading Air Force Light Combat Aircraft Mark II Tejas. Here in this episode, we will talk about the significance of HAL and GE deal with respect to F414 engine. Along with that, we will talk about history of cooperation between HAL and GE, what technologies are mentioned in the deal, features of LCA Mark II combat aircraft, importance of F414 engine for Indian Light Combat Tejas Mark II, why this deal is important for India and on what conditions or why USA agreed to this deal. But before moving on to this episode, let me introduce myself. I am Anindita Ghoshal and I create content on international issues and history. So if you like my work and if you like this genre, do consider subscribing to my channel. HAL and GE began working together since 1986. It basically was to support the production of India's light combat aircraft with F404 engines. In total, 75 F404 engines have been delivered and another 99 are on the line. And recently, there is a deal regarding F414 engine deal, which is again going to upgrade the India's Mark II Tejas. There are total 11 technologies which is the part of this deal, and these are special coating for corrosion, erosion and thermal barrier for hot end, machining and coating for single crystal turbine blades, machining and coating of nozzle guide vanes and other hot end parts, blisk machining of powder metallurgy discs for turbine, machining thin wall titanium casing, friction welding for fan and afterburner, PMC for bypass duct, machining and coating of CMC, ceramic matrix composites for nozzle, laser drilling technology for combustor, bottle boring of staff as the sources have mentioned. A senior official from Aeronautical Development Agency had mentioned some quite interesting features of LCA Mark II Tejas, and these are: it is capable of carrying 8 beyond visual range missiles along with the native as well as advanced weapons from all countries. LCA Mark II has the carrying capacity of 6.5 tons. It can carry various weapons of mixed ranges, air-to-air missiles, air-to-ground missiles, heavy precision guiding weapons and conventional bombs. It includes features such as superior radar, enhanced fuel capacity, unified electronic warfare suite, indigenous flight control actuators, improved digital flight control computer and better cockpit displays. Here the most important deal is the deal of the production of F414 engines for Indian light combat aircraft. Here in this deal, it is said that there would be 80% of the transfer of technology, and number 2, this engine will be produced in India. Now the question is that why this engine is so important. F414 engines have the reputation of working with US Navy for past 30 years, and this engine is very useful for the various other missions as well, and due to its versatile nature, this engine is regarded as the recommendation of the armed forces all around the globe. What India is going to get is F414 INS6, and it is to power the Mark II Tejas, that is the light combat aircraft. Now let's talk about that why India needs this deal. So basically, India has the aspiration of producing light combat aircraft, but it has always struggled. In 2000s, India had approached HAL, GE's F404 engine, to power its aircraft, and F404 was the predecessor of F414 engine. But what happens now is that India has not mastered the technology and metallurgy that is needed to manufacture the engine which is to power the Mark II Tejas. Usually what happened is that those countries who have this technology, they usually don't share it, and so this deal between these two countries becomes very vital, because here it is mentioned that there would be 80% of the transfer of technology would happen, and it will be produced in India. So for the first time we can see that any country is willing to share such a vital technology to some other country. Now let's talk about that why USA agreed to this deal. To understand this, we have to look at how India and USA come closer since India-US nuclear deal happened. But during the Cold War, the relationship between these two democracies were quite hostile. But since 1991 or post 1991, we saw that both countries started to come closer. And in this, one of the major factor was the terrorism. Both the countries are victim of terrorism, and nonetheless US and India get a push in relationship when India and USA signed nuclear deal by defying all the hesitations of past. And now USA in 2016 mentioned that India is their major defense partner, and in 2020 the India's military purchase from USA was $20 billion in 2020 from the near zero purchase in 2008. China is another factor which is the obvious reason for bringing these two democracies together. It is because the China is threat to both India and USA. China is a threat to USA as far as the South China Sea is concerned, and in India, China had engulfed so many places. And the most important clashes that, if we remember in history, in modern history, is the 2020's Galwan Valley clash. And this is the reason why these two countries are getting together, because China is a big threat to them. Now another reason is the obvious geopolitical reason, and so to speak, because USA wants India to be in their side. And since the war had happened in Ukraine, India has not criticized Moscow as West had expected. So what happened is that also the India had some sort of interests aligned with Russia. India gets cheap oil from Russia and other defense agreements that is there with Russia. So India is not so open. India hasn't openly criticized Russia for this war. So in this deal, what is being attempted is the USA wants to bring India in their side by giving them a certain seductive deal.